Israel is allying with ISIS-affiliated militia in Gaza. This is something I discussed last November on this channel. Some of you may remember. I was smeared over it. We'll come on to that. But this has now erupted as a scandal in Israel, and it further links Israel to the looting of aid, which Israel has blamed on Hamas rather than its own criminal allies as part of a deliberate campaign, of course, of starvation. Avigdor Lieberman is a right-wing Israeli politician who previously served under Benjamin Netanyahu as his deputy prime minister, his foreign minister, and his defense minister. On Wednesday evening, Lieberman declared that the prime minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, had transferred weapons to ISIS-linked clans in Gaza. Lieberman, who heads a far-right party, what? Another far-right party in Israel? I'm shocked to hear you cry. Anyway, he told Israeli radio the following. The Israeli government is giving weapons to a group of criminals and felons, identified with Islamic State, at the direction of the Prime Minister. To my knowledge, this did not go through approval by the cabinet. Here's the thing. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, who's subject to an arrest warrant by the International Criminal Court, didn't deny it. He responded, Israel is working to defeat Hamas in various ways on the recommendation of all heads of the security establishment. He did a video message boasting that Israel had activated clans in Gaza that oppose Hamas, calling it a good thing that saved the lives of Israeli soldiers. What's wrong with that, he said. What? Who are we talking about here? Let's just be clear. Who are we talking about? It's a militia headed by this guy called Yasser Abu Shabab. I expect we're going to be hearing a lot more about him, so keep his name in mind. According to the Israeli newspaper Israel Hayom, he was previously imprisoned by Hamas, but escaped thanks to an airstrike by the Israeli military towards the beginning of the genocide. And he allegedly commands a militia of up to 300 gunmen. Now, this militia is based in the south of Gaza, and it has been looting aid coming to Gaza. We already knew they were operating under the nose of the Israeli military without any intervention, and I was previously discussing the links with the Israeli military and these bunch of thugs. And indeed, the Israeli military has systematically killed police officers charged with guarding aid coming into Gaza, allowing these gangs to be able to loot the aid. Now, it calls itself the Anti-Terror Service. In practice, it is a criminal gang which is terrorizing people in Gaza. Let's read this from the Times of Israel. Israel has been arming a criminal gang in the Gaza Strip as part of an effort to strengthen opposition to Hamas in the enclave, defense sources confirmed on Thursday following remarks on the matter by former Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman. I'd say astonishing, but nothing should surprise us about the behaviour of the Israeli state. But as ever, note the lack of scandal here, where it's not all over, it should be all over the Western media, but so much should, and it's not. The Times of Israel note it's operating in Rafah in an area under Israeli military control. They're clearly being protected by the IDF. Interestingly, Abu Shabab's own family have disowned him because of his collaboration. They said in a statement, we, like everyone else, were surprised by video footage broadcast by the resistance showing the involvement of Yasser's groups within a dangerous security framework, reaching the point of operating within undercover units and supporting the Zionist occupation forces who are brutally killing our people. We affirm that we will not accept Yasser's return to the family. We have no objection to those around him liquidating him immediately. And we tell you that his blood is forfeit. Oh, wow. They're so angry they want him dead. The Guardian quote Jonathan Whittle, the head of the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs in Occupied Palestine, who says Israel has publicly claimed that the UN and NGO aid has been diverted by Hamas. But this doesn't hold up to scrutiny. The real theft of aid since the beginning of the war has been carried out by criminal gangs under the watch of Israeli forces. And they were allowed to operate in proximity to the Kerem Shalom crossing point into Gaza. He confirmed to The Guardian this included Abu Shabab. Now look, Israel is pursuing a policy of deliberate starvation, which is achieving in various ways. Allowing gangsters to steal aid is one of those ways. And it is yet another example of every accusation is a confession. They justified the siege on Gaza by claiming Hamas was stealing aid. The likes of Cindy McCain, widow of late hawkish Republican Senator John McCain, and director of the World Food Programme, said this wasn't happening. The people stealing the aid are Israel's allies. Let me quote from the ever-brilliant Palestinian analyst Mohammed Shahada. Important, Israel is not arming criminal gangs to challenge Hamas, he says. 300 untrained drug dealers and criminals can't overpower Hamas's 30,000 militants, he says. Israel has been using those ISIS-linked gangs to indirectly maintain its starvation of Gaza and to outsource all the dirty work to them. Every time the world pressures Israel to allow aid into Gaza, Israel unleashes those gangs in Rafah and Khan Yunis to loot all the aid going in so that the IDF can claim, look, we're letting food in, it's not our fault people are starving. Israel has also been using those criminal gangs to carry out activities the IDF deems dangerous for its soldiers, e.g. sweeping areas, inspecting booby-trapped neighbourhoods, recon missions, surveillance, espionage, and protect Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, this Israeli front, facilities and interact with aid seekers. And now Israel is using those gangs to establish concentration camps with a Palestinian face to bait and lure starving Gazans to move to eastern Rafah, Egypt's borders, with a promise of safety and food. Gazans wouldn't trust to live in such a camp surrounded by IDF soldiers, so Israel created this new puppet security force out of the criminal gangs to run those camps instead. I mean, he does so much more important work and exposing the truth than, in that tweet than you read in articles all over the Western media. Let's quote Yair Lapid, Israeli opposition leader and former prime minister. And he said, after Netanyahu finished giving millions of dollars to Hamas, he moved on to giving weapons to organizations close to ISIS in Gaza, all off the cuff, all without strategic planning, all leading to more disasters. Weapons that enter Gaza will eventually be turned against IDF soldiers and Israeli citizens. This point about being linked to ISIS is very interesting, isn't it? At the beginning of the genocide, remember what the Israeli state kept saying ad nauseum: Hamas is ISIS. Yet the Israeli state stands accused of arming and supporting ISIS-linked militias. It's been widely noted that history is repeating itself. In the 1980s, the Israeli state saw an Islamist group as a counterweight to Fatah. Fatah at the time, of course, was led by Yasser Arafat. It was deemed public enemy number one. What was this Islamist group named? Hamas. They allowed it to grow, to divide the Palestinian national movement as they saw it. This strategy was accelerated under Netanyahu. It suited him for the West Bank and Gaza to be ruled by rival factions, where he could say there was no partner for peace, in quotes, because Hamas was beyond the pale, as it was portrayed in terms of Fatah not representing, at the same time, all of the occupied territories. It was like, we can't deal with any of these people. That was his narrative. That would succeed in rebuffing already weak international pressure to allow an independent Palestinian state. With the support of Netanyahu, money was funneled from Qatar to Hamas before 7th October. Now, based on the evidence, I did a video on this back in November, and I was smeared because of it. Now, there's an organisation in the UK called the Community Security Trust, whose mandate is to protect Jewish people from anti-Semitism. That's very important. Anti-Semitism is a growing problem. It's real. And Jewish people are at risk of hate crimes. They need protection and security. A communal organisation with that function is something I support. The problem is certain staffers have been attacking critics of Israel's genocide, like myself, and wrongly invoking what is the very real evil of anti-Semitism, which should be taken very seriously, and I do take it very seriously. One of these staffers thought a good use of his time, for example, and resources in the fight against anti-Semitism was to comb through my videos and clip all the time I'd said Jewish, even though these were cases of me, for example, opposing anti-Semitism or noting Jewish activists who oppose Israel's genocide. He did it to make it look like I had this creepy obsession with Jewish people, this sinister obsession. That was the function. And as Zach Polanski, who's running to be leader of the Green Party, who's Jewish, again, I say those words, you see, then he could take those words and splice it together to do the same thing. That's what we're dealing with here. He noted that example as a way of, that's not making Jewish people feel safe. It's whipping up fears based on nonsense amongst Jewish people. Because make it look, oh my God, look, here's this newspaper columnist, he's obsessed with us. This is dangerous. Completely cynical. And it has that effect. Now, he also refers in a video about Israel and ISIS-linked gangs last November, and he wrote at the time the following. Titling a YouTube video, Israel allying with ISIS to starve Gaza, is no more than the worst kind of shameless clickbait sensationalism, given also the abundance of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories regarding Israel and ISIS. It's also just reckless. Now, at the time I speak to you here, I asked him for a response and he hasn't given me one. Now, here's what I'd say to him and to people who have adopted his strategy. Stop abusing the concept of anti-Semitism. Just stop it. Cut it out. It's a very real evil. It's a hatred of Jewish people. Discussing the behavior of the Israeli state based on evidence isn't anti-Semitism. The criminal behavior of the Israeli state, not the Jewish people, is not anti-Semitism. And I would urge you and others to stop trashing the demarcation between the Israeli state and Jewish people. It's not one and the same. There was supposed to be a theoretical agreement on that. But it's defenders of Israel who tried to trash that by saying anyone who opposes what Israel's doing is attacking Jewish people. Cut it out. Stop it. It's dangerous. It's irresponsible. Now, you would now have to condemn the Israeli opposition as indulging anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Do you believe that? There should be a teachable lesson for you that you are undermining the fight against anti-Semitism by smearing people who just don't like war crimes. That's really what this is. We do not like our government facilitating war crimes. I know it suits some people to try and think of really sinister and convoluted reasons for why people don't like watching the mass slaughter of innocent people and an entire territory being wiped from the face of the earth, alongside mass torture and starvation and incarceration and rape, and allying with ISIS criminal gangs. I know it might suit you to go, well, there must be a sinister reason why they don't like it. It's because they hate Jewish people. Are you nuts? We don't like war crimes. We don't like a state allied to the West, which is in essence a Western state, armed and backed by our government, committing war crimes in our name. We just don't like that. And we're going to keep speaking out against it. And you've got to stop pretending or convincing yourself that this is driven by hatred against Jewish people, anyone. It's the opposite of hatred, wanting to stop people being slaughtered. Hope you've learned this lesson well. Please like and subscribe, leave your thoughts and your comments. Help us take on a pro-genocide media at patreon.com/7jersey4. Share the video. I'll speak to you soon.